Hey everyone, I'm Soorya Ramesh.
And I'm John Ravi, and you're listening to
Two brown accents.
Today, we're going to be talking about being a middle child and being an only child.
Ooh.
So, I'm a middle child. I have an older sister and a younger brother.
And I am an only child. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess.
Oh, yeah. You wanted to say something else after that.
I wanted to go for, I have a this and I have a that, but yeah.
But you do consider your cousins like a brother to you, kind of, right?
I do, but also, yeah, I do, but then I don't think I'm as close to any of my cousins as you are to your siblings.
It's not the same. It's definitely not the same. Like, let me tell you something. Like, there's a lot of stereotypes about being a middle child, and most of them is true.
Mm-hmm.
I actually want to say all of them might be true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one thing is that, like, you don't get a lot of attention.
I was going to start with that, yeah.
Very true, right?
Mm.
Like, I used to be the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was like 7 or 8 years old.
Oh, okay. So you knew what was going on. So you knew what it was like to get the attention.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize how much different it was going to be.
I see.
But it was so different. Like, you go from, like, being so pampered and everything to being just ignored, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, like, the parents don't realize it either. They're like, oh, like, what do you mean we ignore you? We always, like, think about you and whatever. But it's not the same. Like, there is a difference. You wouldn't understand. You're an only child. It was like the center of attention.
You see, you say that, and I think most of the only child stereotypes are pretty true, but I want to say none of them apply to me, you know?
You're the exception.
I'm the exception, 100%. I think I wasn't given that much attention. I think my parents were busy. They did their own stuff, you know? And I was just at home. I was doing my own stuff. I was mostly by myself, just doing my own stuff.
Okay, so, like, here's the thing about middle child, is that, like, since you don't get a lot of attention home, they go seek out attention outside of home. So they're usually very extroverted and very social, which is, like, applies to me, and it kind of applies to you too, right?
Yeah.
So maybe, like, I can kind of see why you say that you weren't getting it.
Exactly. If my parents were giving me that much attention, maybe I would have just been chill being home, right? But because, you know, they had their own busy things to do, I always used to go to school, make a lot of friends, you know, stay after school for an hour, just hang out with a bunch of people, play games or something like that. So yeah, that's how I became extroverted. I became super close to friends just because, you know, I was like, for me, I don't know, I feel like friends are their own family, you know. I feel extra close to friends. I want to say compared to other people.
I mean, there are stereotypes about being an only child. Like the YouTube video I sent you earlier today, like it was about
how we don't give a damn about anything else and we just do our own
very
stuff.
Selfish.
I want to say I'm selfless.
Because, like, you know, when you have siblings, you have to, like, figure out how to share stuff, right? Even when you don't like it. But yeah, I guess it doesn't apply to you in that sense. Like, you're not really. Well, a lot of things you're not very selfish, but there are things where your opinions are...
Okay, am I, you know, okay, I'll give you an example of me being a single child, right? When I was a kid, when my friends used to come home, my mom used to make us drinks, juice. She used to give it to us, and I'd always, like, compare both the glasses, and I'd be like, oh, this one has a teeny bit extra juice, so I'll take this one, and then I'll give my friend the one with the slightly lesser juice.
Yeah, that sounds like only child behavior.
Yeah, or when we've had sweets, sometimes, like, not sometimes, once I've done it. I go to my mom and I'm like, Ma, don't tell him about the sweets, okay? I'm gonna eat it later. Don't tell anyone about it. Whereas, like, I feel like usually, you know, now I'd offer sweets. So usually I offer sweets. That day I didn't want to, but, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I have questions for you. So the stereotypes go, the youngest child, when you're in a family of 3 children, the youngest child gets the most attention.
Most pampered, the least amount of rules, whereas the oldest child seems like they get the most amount of rules, which I am glad I'm not the oldest child. I feel like they're the guinea pig for a lot of things. You know, their parents are just figuring out how to parent, so they're, like, very, very strict on them, and they don't. I mean, like it's interesting because you faced everything. It seems like you got like the strictest rules, but also the like pampered.
Yeah.
But like it's like it doesn't really apply to you a lot of this stuff. But like when you have like
I guess I got 3 times as much attention as all three of you. Let's say they split the attention, but yeah, I went through all the phases together.
also parents say they don't have a favorite child, but that's 100% false.
I know.
Like-
I'd like to believe, right? Like inside, I feel like you kind of have a favorite. Have you seen Modern Family? Like,
Yeah.
you know, Phil's favorite is Luke. You can see that, you know, even though he talks to everyone. It's the youngest child. Okay, question. So you say you were the youngest till you were 7 years old and you were pampered and everything and you didn't notice it. But don't you think when you were born, your elder sibling felt the same? Like, you know, she was given a lot of attention.
So me and her, we have a 3-year age difference. So I don't think she understood what was going on at 3 years old.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But for me, I had some amount of agency and like knew what was going on.
Okay.
I still was pretty happy because I was like, oh, like I get to have a baby brother. In my head back then, I was thinking, wow, I get to have someone who gets to game with me, right? Like we can play all these like local co-op games. Didn't realize like it'll take like a lot of years for that to actually be the case. I think very recently we started playing like Call of Duty together, and only recently has it been like beating me in those games, right?
Sure.
It like beats me really well too. Like
Sure.
back then, every time I beat him, like I wouldn't feel like awesome because I'm like, oh, I'm beating like someone who's like
Yeah.
much younger than me.
See, I had these kinds of issues. You know, I would need to get friends home if I wanted to play video games with them, like Call of Duty or something. I never had somebody always available, right? Like, sure,
Yeah,
you were better.
exactly.
But so, you know, even now it's like, so I got good at getting people home and getting people to play video games with me and stuff. I mean, I've gotten you into playing some video games too.
That's true.
But yeah, I wonder how it would have been if I had a sibling. Like, there's also the chance that they might have never played video games with me.
Yeah.
You know, they might not have been interested, that kind of stuff. But also, like, it would have been cool if I could just play with, like, if I had somebody around for like 10 years who could just play video games with me the entire time. It's kind of cool.
The sibling dynamics is very interesting. You know, I want to say there's no other people you fight so much with, both, you know, through words, but also through physical too.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my brother go through like physical altercations all the time. You know, sometimes, most of the time it's pretty fun. But like, you know, there are situations where my parents are like yelling at us, like, "Stop! You're gonna hurt someone."
See, I haven't been in a. For the most part, I haven't been in a physical fight. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not actually trying to hurt him. I hope, and he's not trying to actually hurt
No,
me.
yeah, but
either.
even the rolling over, whatever.
Exactly, like you're like Russell and stuff. But it's really nice too, you know, because there's like you have to love them. They're family, they're blood,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
So I think it's a very interesting dynamic. Which like I think you know you almost have too with like your cousin. Like in India, there's this like term like people you just say cousin brother, cousin sister,
Yeah.
and actually they refer to them as brother and sister. Like
I do.
I get that confused all the time because I'm like, wait, you're only child. How do you have a brother and sister?
Yeah.
But they basically refer to like cousins as siblings.
And yeah, I have, you know, the thing is, whenever I meet my cousins, I get super close because, you know, they are my brothers and sisters and I don't really have a sibling brother sister, right? So I do get super close to them when I meet them. It feels super nice. But also, you know, it's still, I'm just visiting. It's only for a few days and then I go back.
That's
and
true.
You know, I'm by myself. It's
Yeah.
the same old.
And like actually what also is very interesting to me is the variance between siblings, right? Like I want to say I'm very different than my sister and brother in a lot of things, right?
Even though you guys grew up in the same environment.
Exactly, right? Even though we have pretty much the same DNA, same like father and mother, same upbringing.
Yeah.
But our personalities are very different.
Yeah,
Our interests are very different.
I guess the most major thing, especially when you're a kid, would have been you guys might have had different classmates. That's pretty much the main difference, right?
Yeah. You know, people do say a lot that like I talk very similar to how like my sister talks, which you know
I mean accent wise.
Accent wise,
Okay.
yeah, accent, tone of voice, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like you know, there's a lot of differences too. Like you wouldn't have expected it.
Sure. I still want to get back to the previous question. Why do you think, as the middle child, you get cared for the least among the three of you? Why do you think the elder child gets more attention than you, or gets cared for more? Why do you think they're more?
It's very logical if you look at it, right? It's not. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but
Right.
it's a very like, you know, it's your first kid. You have your first kid. You want to do the right thing, so you like follow everything to the book on like how to raise a kid.
Yeah.
And you like put a lot of focus into that, right? Second kid comes along, you're a little bit more lenient, and you know that like everything doesn't have to be so strict for it to be like okay. And let's say another kid comes along, right? You're way more lenient there, and you kind of know that like, you know, the first two are basically good for, and like, I mean, they can like take care of themselves. You know, like, they're older now.
And also maybe based on how much the age difference is, the first kid could take care of the other.
That's the other thing too, right? Like, I think my sister and my brother's age difference was like a lot more, right?
Sure.
So like, she basically raised my brother.
Sure. So they're more mature.
Yeah.
Your parents think the first kid is more mature than you, which is probably true too. But
yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think also I've noticed that like parents enjoy the earlier years. I mean, they enjoy like all the time, but like, you know, they get the early years for like such a limited time, right? They're only a baby for such a small time. They really enjoy that moment. And like once they grow out of it, you know, it's like another phase of life. But you get to re-experience that again when you have another baby. So like, kind of like you get like almost like nostalgic, I want to say.
Sure.
You know, I'm talking about like, I'm projecting like how my parents must have felt. Most of this might have been wrong. You know, like I will probably figure this out when I have kids one day. You know, I also kind of want to have 3 kids. You know, I was in a family of 3 kids.
Sure.
So I also want to have 3 kids one day.
Okay. I was actually going to bring up that question. Not how many kids you want to have, but rather if you had an option to be born first child, second child, third child among so many children, what would you?
I wouldn't have changed anything because like you know, me being a middle child got me to where I am.
Okay.
And it has a lot of perks too. You know, like the fact that I did being in an Indian household, you get a lot of extra rules that you wouldn't otherwise get being like in an American household, I want to say. But being a middle child gives you a little bit more freedom because you get less attention.
I see.
Which is very useful for being, you know, like
sure.
doing your own things sometimes and growing. What about you? Would you?
No, I wouldn't change anything.
You would always want to be a middle child.
Single child, yeah. Yeah, no, I 100% same answer as you. You know, being like, you know, got me wherever. I think I turned out pretty well actually.
You'd like to believe.
I would like to believe, indeed. No, I wouldn't change. I wouldn't change anything. This is perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you gotta be grateful for what you're given. You know, you don't get to choose the stuff, but you gotta make the most out of what you got. Right?
That's true. You do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, leave a comment down below what you guys think about like the stereotypes about being a middle child or only child.
What are you guys?
Yeah. But we'll see you guys in the next one.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.